Also on Capitol Hill today, Republicans are taking claims of non-citizens voting in elections front and center. The House will vote tomorrow on the SAVE Act. That would, for example, require states to obtain proof of U.S. citizenship when registering people to vote, mandate states to establish programs to remove non-citizens from voter rolls, and allow non-citizens to bring civil suits against elected officials, now upholding the law. Now, it is already illegal, we should note, for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. No state allows non-citizens to vote in statewide elections, and non-citizens can vote in local elections in just a handful of areas across this country. Joining us now is a supporter of the SAVE Act. She is the Republican Congresswoman from the state of Florida, back here on the Hill, Congresswoman Laurel Lee. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us. Once again, explain to me, why are you spending time on this?
Well, it's important for several reasons. First off, we know that there are a lot of states that want to be following the law, that means that non-citizens can't vote. But right now, they don't have the resources that they need to verify citizenship. And courts have even held that the Voting Rights Act prevents them from verifying citizenship when someone registers to vote. So what the SAVE Act does is ensure that state and local election officials can actually follow the law that says federal elections are limited to U.S. citizens. And frankly, it's something that really everyone should be behind. Our elections are for U.S. citizens. They are the only people who are lawfully entitled to vote. And this bill will make sure that election officials can actually access resources like the Social Security database and the Homeland Security databases that verify citizenship status.
Here's the White House, Congresswoman. The bill would do nothing to safeguard our elections, but it would make it much harder for all eligible Americans to register to vote. The evidence is clear that the current laws to prevent non-citizens from voting are working as intended. I just read you what the standard is across this country. There's the White House. Why do we need new laws?
Well, that's just not accurate. First of all, we do know that there are non-citizens on voter rolls and that there are non-citizens who have voted in our elections. And
so here are the numbers, though, Congresswoman.
We have a lot of elections that are very close.
I want to jump in because here are the numbers. In 2022, the Georgia voter roll, an audit there, found that there were 1,634 cases of potential non-citizens trying to vote out of millions. None actually voted. In 2016, a survey of 49 states found only 2 possible non-citizen voting cases out of 137 million votes. 2016 as well, election study. Non-citizen voting accounted for 0.0001% in 42 jurisdictions that has a heavy immigrant population. You're chasing the 0.0001% here, an asteroid, 1 in 300,000 of hitting Earth, being struck by lightning, 1 in 15,300, or about 230 people per year. That's what you're chasing here, Congresswoman, are you not?
Well, No, that is not right. Right now, election officials can't even access these databases to check. They have no way of determining whether the people on their voter rolls are citizens or not, and neither do the groups that you're using to come up with those statistics. This is a problem that cannot even be defined until we give state election officials the tools, the resources, and the ability to verify citizenship. And in a situation where we have 9 million people who've crossed our southern border in the last several years, we need to be able to all we want to do is follow the law. This isn't about making voting difficult. This is about making voting secure, that only the people who are legally entitled to vote can cast those ballots. And that should not be a partisan question. That should be something that every voter, every candidate, and every election official can get behind.
Is there a widespread problem in this country as you see it, and do you have evidence for it?
Well, one widespread problem we have is that we know that we have some state and local election officials who want to follow this law, who want to check for citizenship, who want to verify that their voter rolls are accurate and up to date. And right now they can't do it. And so in Congress, we want to make sure that we're equipping them and giving them the opportunity to do that.
Congresswoman Laurel Lee, thanks for coming on. Appreciate the time. I'm sure we'll catch you back here soon here on the Hill. Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.